Hey there, guitar fanatics. Today I'm going to show you a practice exercise that will allow you to start easily playing cool solos over chord progressions. The proper name for what we're going to be doing today is called chord tone soloing, but don't let that name scare you. In reality, we're going to be relying on just a few really important notes from each chord to help structure our licks and lines. And once you know how to do this, you're never going to look back. Let's get into it. So for the purposes of this lesson today, let's play some notes over the most popular chord progression in rock and pop music, the good old 1, 5, 6, 4. Let's play in the key of C. The 1 is the C chord, 5 is the G chord, 6 is A minor, and then the 4 is F. So let's start by breaking down the notes in those chords, and I'm going to show you two different ways to play them. So the C major chord, we've got the notes C, E, and G. And I could play that starting on the C note at the 3rd fret of the A string, and I could play E at the 2nd fret of the D string, and G at the 5th fret of the D string. Now memorize that shape. We could also play that by playing the C at the 1st note, or at the 3rd fret of our A string with our first finger. I'm going to play the E at the 7th fret of the A string with my pinky, and then I'm going to play the G at the 5th fret of the D string with my middle finger. So let's memorize that shape. The G chord has the notes G, B, and D. And I could also play that starting with the G note and just play one note on the low E, 2 notes on the A string. I could play it playing 2 notes on the low E string. There's that same 2 shapes. I've just moved it down from starting at the A string to the low E string. Now the A minor chord's a little bit different. We've got notes A, C, and E. So in a minor chord, the 3rd is flat, right? So they're going to be the root note and the 3rd, the minor 3rd, are going to be 3 frets apart. In our other shapes, on one string, the major 3rd and the root note were 4 frets apart. But what makes a minor chord minor, it's got a minor 3rd, so we can still have shapes where I've got 2 notes on the bottom string. I could play A and C on my low E, and I play the E note at the 7th fret of the A string. There's one minor shape. The other minor shape would be I could play the A note, just 1 note on the low E at the 5th fret. Then I would play C at the 3rd fret of the A and E at the 7th fret of the A. And lastly, we've got our F chord, and we've got the notes F, A, and C. Now I'm going to play that one to put our 2 shapes into use. I've got F at the 13th fret of my low E string, A at the 12th fret of the A string, and C at the 15th fret of that E string, or I could play F and A on the low E, and again that's a major 3rd, major chord, so they're 4 frets apart, and then I've got C at the 5th fret of the A string. So to recap, we've created 2 arpeggio shapes to play the same triad arpeggio. One of the shapes, we've got 1 note on the 1st string that we play, that's our root note, and then we've got the 3rd and the 5th on the next string. The other shape, we play the root note and the 3rd on the same string and the 5th on the next string. Now, of course, there are many other ways to play these notes, but we want to stick with these 2 today because we want to develop a really solid base with this stuff. What these notes represent is the root, the 3rd, and the 5th of each chord, and we call that chord a triad. Now we can play it as a chord, but playing the notes of a chord individually, that's called an arpeggio. Using those notes to structure a solo, the notes of the chords themselves, well, we refer to that as chord tone soloing. I'm pointing this out because you're probably going to hear all of these terms, and I don't want you to get confused or caught up in the terminology. What I want you to take out of this today, I want you to learn the shapes. So let's do some playing over a backing track because I want you to hear how perfectly these single notes fit over the chords because they are the notes of the chords. And let's run through that a couple of times. Here we go. Now, something that we want to get a handle on is knowing the fretboard well enough that we can find the root notes of the chords in our progression anywhere on the neck. What's important about that is if we can find a root note, if we can identify that root note, we can play off that root note, and we can use these same arpeggio shapes anywhere on the fretboard. Like I say, this is crucial. It's not important to be thinking about all the names of the notes that you play as you play them. If you can just find the root notes, then all you really have to think about is the shape of the arpeggio that you're going to play. And that's way simpler, way faster. So let's try these shapes in other spots on the fretboard because I really want you to see that these shapes work everywhere. What if we started with, say, the C note at the 8th fret of the low E string? Well, I've got C, E, and G, or the 1, 3, 5, or I could play it this way. C and E on the low E string, the 5th, which is G right there at the 10th fret of the A string. Since I've got a G right there, let's use that note as our root. I've got root 3rd, 5th, or root 3rd, 5th. I've got an A right here at the 12th fret of the A string, so root minor 3rd, 5th, or root minor 3rd, 5th. I've got an F note right here at the 13th fret of the low E, root 3rd, 5th, root 3rd, 5th. I've got a C note at the 10th fret of my D string, root 3rd, 5th. There's a G note right here at the 8th fret of the B string, root 3rd, 5th, or root 3rd, 5th. I've got an A note at the 10th fret of the B string, root minor 3rd, 5th, or root minor 3rd, 5th. We've got an F right here at the 10th fret of the G string, root 3rd, 5th. Had to change the shape just a little bit because now we're playing on the G and the B string, and of course the B string is tuned a little differently. I've got root 3rd, 5th. As you can see, these things transfer all over the board. They're the same everywhere you go. All you have to do is find that root note. Now let's spice things up a bit and make it sound a little more musical. You know, playing just the notes of the chords, well, it sounds right, but it also sounds really boring because we're not introducing any musical tension into the sound. Now to introduce some tension into the sound here, we're going to have to play a note that's not in the chord. So we're going to use a non-chord note and we're going to play that with the notes of our arpeggio. Now we've been playing the 1 and the 3 and 5 of each chord. What we're going to do is we're going to insert the 2 in there. So we're going to be playing 1, 2, 3, 5. So we're going to have a 4-note pattern for each chord. For our C chord, the root is obviously C, the 2 is D, E is the 3rd, as we talked about, and we've got our G note as the 5th. So we've got this one extra note. Do the same thing with our G. We've got G, now we've got A, then B, D. A minor, we'd have A, B is the 2 of A, C is the flat 3rd, we've got E as our 5th. Go down to F, we'd have F, G is the 2, then we've got A and C. Put that all together, sounds like this. Now once again, this pattern, it's going to work all over the fretboard. And we can play it in two different ways. We could fret it normally. Or it sounds really, really cool if you play the 1 and the 2 and slide into that 3rd with each chord. Check this out. Now, that sliding technique makes it really easy to move up the fretboard. And here's something really cool. Once you play that pattern, and here it is, I'm going to play the C with the slide. Well, there's another C right here, adjacent to the 5th on the next string. Let's play the same pattern. Now I've got a 2-octave lick. Let's do it for the G chord. A minor, F. So as I said, that sliding technique makes it really easy to move up the fretboard. So we were playing an ascending lick. But if we can move up the fretboard, we can also move down the fretboard. So the last exercise I'm going to leave you with is we're going to play up the fretboard, each chord for 2 octaves using that arpeggio technique with the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 5. And then we're going to turn around and descend through the pattern to our original root note. So here we go. Let's walk through it. Our C chord, we've got 1, 2, 3, 5. Now we've got another root. 1, 2, 3, 5. Do it in reverse. 5, 3, 2, 1. 5, 3, 2, 1. So once you get these exercises down and you get to where you can easily find the root note of each chord in a progression and play an arpeggio, well then you can start to add many more notes, all kinds of notes. You could connect arpeggios and pentatonic scales, for instance. Or you could connect arpeggios and major scales. Or if you're into the modes and know those, you can connect those too. But I promise you, developing a solid understanding of how to move through chord progressions and outline the chords with simple arpeggio shapes is a real key to unlocking the fretboard and achieving fretboard freedom. It's something I think you should practice every day, and I know it's going to make you a better guitar player. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps a lot. You guys keep practicing. I'm going to keep making videos that are going to help you make sense of soloing. Have an awesome time playing guitar today. Bye.